So the live-action adaptations have cast their Link in Zelda, and the internet was aghast at how great the casting looked. I mean, honestly, not just because we could set aside the jokes of going with Zendaya and Tom Holland and Chris Pratt and, of course, Hunter Schafer, but because, the memes aside, they actually did look spot on for the characters. Now, how they actually act in those roles, how the movie's going to turn out, remains to be seen. I have faith. I've been an advocate for this movie literally since its announcement, but the fact of the matter is, it's getting high praise out the gate. And I touched on this a little bit on yesterday's stream, how there were supposedly people melting down that Hunter Schafer didn't get the role. And I didn't put too much stock in it. I briefly covered it because, I mean, go back and look at the video I made when the Hunter Schafer announcement was first, gaining traction about a month ago. I even said then, yeah, there's no way Nintendo's gonna let this happen. It's just simply not gonna be a thing. Nintendo would not put one of their most acclaimed and protected IPs at base because of, social and gender wars and what's going on with the current social status of the West and, frankly, the world over. But, of course, I entertained the idea that if it were to happen, if I was wrong, people would riot, it would cost them money. But we all knew it wasn't gonna happen. And then, of course, the information came out. It was just a PR firm trying to put forth Hunter Schafer's name to make a media buzz about it. Yeah, big shocker. So I didn't really do any sort of follow-up because, well, I didn't see anybody freaking out about it. Or at least I didn't see anybody freaking out about it that I thought was serious or wasn't a bot. Until I saw these Brianna Wu posts. So welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idol. And yes, if you haven't seen, Brianna Wu be having herself a bit of an absolute melty over this situation. And yes, I said she, some of you would say he, Brianna Wu's trans. Look, I've known of Brianna Wu for years upon years. Didn't find out Brianna Wu was trans till a year or so ago. I've been calling her she for about 10 years now. That's probably just gonna stick. I didn't even know. And also, full disclosure, I do have some modicum of respect for Brianna Wu, and before y'all click on the video or unsubscribe, let me explain why. Obviously, for those of you that know your history, especially for those of us that were there back in time, Brianna Wu was one of the ones that kicked off the original Gamergate. That, honestly, you can kind of credit it for getting Trump elected in 2024. I mean, Gamergate was the first mainstream, at least mainstream to a degree, event that really brought the culture war to the forefront, and yes, Brianna Wu was a large part of that. Moved away from it, started doing very left-leaning advocacy stuff in the political sphere, and more or less kind of left it all behind him, to the point to where it's not even something that really comes up unless people know their history. A lot of folks might not even know that, and I like to think that we are different than the left. I mean, the left will do things like hold tweets of yours from 10 years ago against you and get you fired, just whether or not you're that type of person anymore, whether you've grown, whether they were jokes. The point is, there is no such thing as forgiveness on the left. Now, for me, been a decade. I don't want to be the same thing that we're fighting against. So, yeah, no, I think that Brianna Wu has been one of the individuals that have called out their party to an extreme degree, has actually had some decently fair and balanced takes, ones that I still 90% disagree with, but at least is rational. And again, to further my disclosure, I've had email conversations back and forth with Brianna Wu. Not many, we're not buddies or anything like that. I'm sure she doesn't even remember I exist, but for a period of time, there was a chance that Brianna was going to come on the Countercast. Not Countercast, my bad. Neon Leon. But that seems to have fallen through, and you know what, that's fine. No big deal. But I just want to get all of that transparency out of the way, because unlike modern-day mainstream media, we are transparent here. So yes, let's go ahead and go through this meltdown they're having. Before we do, hit the subscribe button. I'm a Nerdy News channel. I cover nerdy news nearly every day, and this was the initial tweet that started it off. We've got the Video Game Awards announcement. Zelda will be played by Bo Braxton in the live-action Zelda film, and the response was, I'm sorry, this is silly. If anyone was ever born to play Princess Zelda, it's Hunter Schafer. And of course, use this picture. I'm so tired of this. I'm so absolutely tired of this. I mean, they always use this same photo or same collection of photos from this single photo shoot where Hunter Schafer looks like Zelda in one photo shoot, and not only looks like Zelda, looks like one iteration of Zelda from one game. Looks like the Twilight Princess Zelda. For those of you that are actual fans of The Legend of Zelda, you know that Zelda's look changes in pretty much every game. So even if this trans individual looked like Zelda in this one instance. For one, this is not what Hunter Schafer normally looks like. In fact, let's go ahead, let's take a little googly goo of what Hunter Schafer normally looks like, just for those of you that are curious. Alright, so we got this. Yeah, that's not very Zelda-esque. That's not particularly Zelda-esque. Okay, again, we've got this one that keeps coming up. That's not particularly Zelda-esque. This isn't particularly Zelda-esque. I mean, the list goes on. That's not very Zelda. This certainly ain't very Zelda. I mean, what is even this or this? You get the point. You can take this one photo, sure, by all means. Looks like one iteration of Zelda out of the 20-plus games Zelda has had. But that's neither here nor there. So let's cut the crap. No, there's no such thing that a man was born to play as a female in a film. But let's take it a step further. Brianna Wu doubled down. Like, I'm sorry, if you can't handle the thought of her as Zelda, have to have a Twitter melty, you're literally a child. Now, the irony shan't be lost on me that Brianna Wu mentions people having a Twitter melty when over the course of 24 hours, you made 1, 2, 3, 4, one of them being a massively long post that we will go over, 4 different tweets in 24 hours about this subject. Who's the one having the melty here when the majority of us were nothing but positive about the casting? I mean, again, I was speaking very positively of the casting on my stream yesterday. I said in my original video, hey, yeah, this probably isn't going to be a thing that's happening. And then, in fact, I'm such a Zelda fan. What'd your boy do on stream last night on the gaming channel? Played a Legend of Zelda ROM hack. Why? Because Zelda is truly one of my favorite franchises of all time. So, yeah, sorry, far be it from me, an actual fan who is rooting for this film, who wants to see a live-action Zelda film done right, you know, cast an adequate Zelda. But then it goes further from there. Now we get to tweet numero 3. My Twitter is 100% incels and turfs melting down about my Hunter Schafer tweet, and it's just impossible to take any of y'all seriously. She's so insanely pretty, and all of you are pretending not to think so because you're freaky politics. Normal people don't act like you. Now let's focus on that last line first. Normal people don't act like you. Now, I went through a lot of the comments on both Miyamoto's tweet and the Game Awards tweets. Let me tell you, a vast majority not only were supportive of this casting, like the casting that Miyamoto and Nintendo went with, but many of them made a point to call out how they didn't want Schafer or any transgender individual playing Zelda. And let me tell you, these comments were coming from all over the world. Normal people do act like this, and let's say you only want to talk about the U.S. Well, once again, who won the popular vote? Our boy Donnie Trump. And say what you want, like him, hate him, give your thoughts on the Epstein files, because trust me, my belief and my thoughts about Donnie have absolutely been changed because of the Epstein files stuff. But the point is, homie still won the popular vote, which means the vast majority of people think or at least align with a lot of his views, or more so than the Democrats. And let me tell you, this sort of DEI bogus 100% does mean normal people act like that, because that was one of his big campaign things. We're getting DEI nonsense out of movies, out of comic books, out of culture in general. So yeah, this is how normal people act. But even this, she's so insanely pretty, and all of you are pretending not to think so because of your freaky politics. Okay, so again, you post the Zelda light, but even you started posting pictures where Hunter Schafer doesn't look like Zelda. Like, look at this. This is a dude, or it's a very oddly shaped woman. What about this? Look at this. This is weird. Like, this is Dylan Mulvaney levels of we can tell. Maybe not quite Dylan Mulvaney, but it's pretty much up there. It is pretty much up there. But again, like, even if this were a female, look at this side profile. Like, if I was to take the trans aspect out of it, look at the side profile here. Like, this looks like a bird. Cast Hunter Schafer as a Rito, I guess. Put them in a bunch of makeup and feathers and shit, because that's a beak you got on your face there, sister, brother, whatever you want to be called. Again, this is, I guess, whatever, fine. This isn't Zelda, though. This isn't a Zelda look. But then we get to the cream of the crop. We've got the best tweet imaginable. The cope. Oh, the Triforce of coping. I'm going to leave the comments off, except the people I follow. But I want to explain a bit more about Hunter Schafer thing and my thinking. Now, at this point, I'm like, alright, you're gonna give an actual rational thought, because Brianna Wu is not incapable of that. I have heard some very good, albeit still arguments I disagree with, but good nonetheless arguments from Brianna Wu. They're well thought out. I can see the vision, I can see the point of view, even if I disagree with it. Again, that's what we're able to do over here on, the middle ground, the libertarians, the anarchists, the right, there's the far right. We can take a look at someone on the left's arguments to be like, I can see where you're coming from. Here's where I disagree. So I thought, since I'd seen Brianna be able to do that so often, that maybe, just maybe, I'd see the same here. Yeah, no, this just boils down to a lot of emotional me, trans gobbledygook. So let's go through it. I've been playing Zelda literally since 1986 when it came out. Now let's think about this. 1986. 1986, you absolutely were definitely still a man back then, Brianna. You were Brian or whatever your name was. So, yeah, you were playing Zelda when you were a little boy, because back then it was a predominantly male hobby, as it still is today, although, of course, everybody loves it when women play video games and actual female gamers, not Twitch ethos and whatnot, but that's neither here nor there. And I feel very strongly that Zelda is at its best when it's a little surreal and weird. Gamers tend to agree with me, but, maybe. Like, Zelda is always surreal and weird. We're talking about a high fantasy world with the imagination that comes from Nintendo. There's no such thing as a Zelda game that isn't surreal and weird. So yeah, gamers would agree with you because that's why they play Zelda. Like, yeah, take away the things that make Zelda aesthetically, it ceases to be Zelda. Gamers wouldn't want a Zelda game that is not Zelda. However, that's not why people actually love Zelda. Zelda's at its best when it has emotionally gripping stories, when it has characters that we care about, the journey of Link, the treachery of Ganondorf, the power of Zelda. Zelda, by the way, is not like Princess Peach. Zelda is not a damsel in distress. To anybody that's played the Legend of Zelda games, more often than not, she is joining you in the final fight, or she is an integral part of the survival. Sometimes she is on her own adventure parallel to yours to help you, the player, Link out, such as when she's Sheik in Ocarina of Time, or when she's, got herself in suspended animation in Skyward Sword. Like, yes, there are, of course, times when Zelda is the damsel in distress, namely in the very original games, the 8-bit games, the 16-bit games, but as the games and the stories and the characters have evolved, so has Zelda's role in the franchise. So, yeah, we follow these games, these characters, these stories, because we love that. The games, the characters, the stories, not the surreal and weird parts, because that's just part of the aesthetic of Zelda. But then, Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess are both beloved for a reason. Well, you didn't spell Majora's Mask right. You're trying to tout yourself as some major Legend of Zelda fan, but you didn't even spell Majora's Mask right. So, sorry if I'm having a little bit of trouble with believing your credibility as a gamer here, but Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess are both beloved for a reason. Nearly every Zelda game is beloved, let's be real. Like, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, sure, but so is Ocarina of Time. In fact, Ocarina of Time is generally considered one of the most important video games ever made. In fact, when VH1 did their, 100 greatest games of all time, top down, I believe Ocarina of Time came in, 7th, or maybe it was even, it may have actually come in 2nd, only after Super Mario Bros. Now, I could be wrong, but yes, I'm pretty sure it came in 2nd, and maybe it was 7th, either way. A Link to the Past is probably one of the most beloved, more so than Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess. I would say Wind Waker is more beloved than Twilight. Now, I like Twilight Princess better, but I love both of them, but I would say Wind Waker is definitely more beloved than Twilight Princess. I don't know about Majora's Mask or not, maybe. The point is, almost all the Zelda games are beloved. Beyond, Zelda 2, and obviously the CDI games, every Zelda game is beloved. That's not the weird and surreal part of Majora's Mask, which, again, you spelled wrong, and Twilight Princess, isn't what makes them beloved. These are both super bizarre games with unsettling art. Well, again, you can find that in nearly every Zelda game, and the unsettling art from Twilight Princess is kind of an accident. It's unsettling because they were going for a realistic look, because that's what fans were clamoring for after the disappointment of Wind Waker. Again, in the eyes of the fans, thank God it's aged as well as it has. And it just hasn't aged well, unlike Wind Waker, because of the attempt at realism from 2006 or so. That's not really the same as Majora's Mask, which was made to be unsettling from the get-go. So the idea of a trans woman playing Zelda to me genuinely fits the version of the universe I love best. Wait. So because Majora's Mask has weird, magical, surreal elements to it, that includes Zelda potentially being a man? Also, I love the idea that Majora's Mask is one of, like, the weirdest and most surreal and most Zelda to you, and that's, like, the game called Zelda that Zelda's not even in. Like Zelda doesn't even play a role in The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. But again, that's neither here nor there. But the idea of a trans woman playing Zelda to me genuinely fits the version of the universe I love the best. In what world, in what universe was it ever even alluded to that Zelda could be trans? None, because it doesn't exist. Hunter as Zelda would be cool and weird and sexy and beautiful and a little surreal. Okay, now I'm gonna need you to ask, I'm gonna need you to answer something. Why would that be surreal? Because last I checked, these folk want us to just accept trans women as women. Alright? This isn't a trans woman, it's just a woman. So by that logic, it's not that a trans woman is playing Zelda, it's that a woman is playing Zelda. Why would it be surreal for a woman to play Zelda? Or do even you know that trans women aren't really women? And so you've got no other option but to fit your narrative to acknowledge that it's a trans woman, but say that that's okay because it's surreal. Also, hate to burst your bubble, most dudes, and frankly most women that are being intellectually and philosophically honest with themselves and with others, don't consider this sexy. They don't consider it sexy. I'll agree with weird. You hit the nail on the head with weird. As sexy, that sounds like projection. Do you actually think Nintendo is going to hire her? I'm sorry, do I actually think Nintendo's going to hire her? Of course not. Then why does it matter? Because now you're trying to pass the buck and say the same thing that I said in my video months ago. It never would have happened. Then why did you say this is silly? If anyone was born to play Princess Zelda, it's Hunter Schafer. If you apparently don't think Nintendo ever would have hired her, or him, why not? Why even have this string of 4 tweets of absolute coping? The Super Mario movie played it as safe as possible, and I'm sure this will too, but that's still the version I think would be the most interesting. Well, there's a reason that you're in politics and into shitposting on X, and not making Hollywood productions or movies in general. Also, the vast majority of folk, clearly when you look at comment sections, when you look at the general sentiment on the internet, disagree with you about that being interesting. In fact, it's lore breaking. People don't want to see shit that does not adhere to The Legend of Zelda because they want to see Zelda in The Legend of Zelda, and Zelda's not a dude. The deluge of comments yesterday were just flat out hateful and embarrassing. It's astonishing to me just how much people feel as if it's socially acceptable to say the most degrading, awful things to trans women. Are you new to the internet? Were you born yesterday? The internet has been about saying degrading, awful things to everybody since like 1992. Like, let's be real here. And by the way, who gives a fuck? Get some thick skin, move over it. We're talking about a fictional character for one, we're talking about Zelda who's not real, and we're also talking about a mentally ill individual who had no business being Zelda in the first place, and just like the fans wanted, an actual woman was cast. But yes, it is socially acceptable to do so. Why? Because it's shaming individuals, and shame needs to be brought back. You might be okay living in a society that's more or less foregone the concept of shame, but all I can see is in a society where we've foregone the concept of shame, we have degraded so much. So yes, we absolutely do want to shame individuals into keeping these weird-ass fetishes to themselves. It is disturbing to me how openly this hate is just openly. That's actually how the sentence is written. I did not misspeak. It's disturbing to me how openly this hate is just openly. Alright, you're so far into the cope session, and you're speaking with such emotion, which does mean the hormones are working. You are acting like a woman, I'll give you that, but you couldn't even type a grammatically proper sentence. Flatly saying you don't want trans women hired because of what we are. Alright, let's get back, let's say back to the movie industry with this one. That we don't want trans women hired because of what we are. You are in the ultimate, actually you will put us in the ultimate catch-22 situation. Because as actors should be able to play whatever role fits them best. Which means, in the past, we have had non-trans people play trans people. Then y'all started to get upset about that. We've had non-black voice actors voice black characters. Then y'all got upset about that. You've said No, voice actors need a voice within their race. No, only trans people should play trans characters. So why are you now saying, hey, trans people can play trans characters, but trans people can also play regular people? Regular people can't play trans. Like, you need to pick one. Either acting is for everybody, and it's just about who is the best for the role, and that does include in a visual perspective, by the way. And again, if you look at any other photo of Hunter Schafer, does not look like Zelda, but that's neither here nor there. If it's about the best actor for the role, then the aspect of it being a trans individual shouldn't matter. Or does being trans matter? And if so, sorry, trans people can only play trans characters because now you're taking roles away from non-trans people. Like, you're gonna have to pick one. It is hypocrisy at its finest. There's nothing less American than being an open bigot like this. I mean, I would disagree. I kind of think it is pretty damn American to use your freedom of speech to, announce such bigotry, if that's what you do truly believe. That doesn't mean you'll get jobs because of it, or doesn't mean you'll get, sorry, just people will respond to you in kind based on how you respond to them, but people are using their God-given freedom to espouse how they truly believe. That's about as American as it fucking gets. This is a very dark moment for trans women. It's being led by Elon Musk and J.K. Rowling as a well-funded right-wing project to push us out of public life. J.K. Rowling is as left comes. She just disagrees with your radical trans ideology because it puts women at risk. J.K. Rowling is insanely left-wing. Elon Musk, for the majority of his life, was also left-wing. By the way, what the fuck does any of that have to do with The Legend of Zelda? Like I'm actually kind of flabbergasted as to why this is even included in talking about the trans Hunter Schafer Zelda debacle, aside from you were using this situation to preach about shit that nobody cares about. There's a reason you turned off the comments for this, because you knew you were gonna get roasted. You know you have the minority opinion here, and you're not willing to take that abuse or fight that battle or whatever it may be, because you know it's a losing battle. So if you say, I honestly don't know how we're going to survive this, the best way to be to shut the fuck up and keep it behind closed doors, like most people should be doing with their bedroom proclivities. Gay, straight, left, right, none of that matters. I don't want to fucking hear about it. Like, the Zelda and Link have never even done anything more than embrace in the games. There's an allusion to them kissing at like the end of Zelda 2, but the curtain drops and you don't even see that. So at the end of the day, like, Zelda as a franchise is about as like play it safe from a sexuality perspective as it comes. You're the one making this real weird. I do think there's value in the public seeing what y'all are, which is simply hateful, frothing bigots. Our movies and television shows that people like you as villains for the reason. Great! So you guys already have your own shit. You just said it. Our movies and television shows that people like you as the villains for a reason. If you have your own shit, why do you need to co-opt ours? Why do you need to co-opt what the world accepts and has loved for damn near 40 years now, because it fits your sensibilities, because it gets you all in your feels, because you feel like you deserve this as some sort of emotional reparations or whatever it may be. Like, if you can already clearly state you have your stuff, alright, great. Make your own fan-made Zelda game, get it funded through Patreon or whatever, or a fan-made Zelda movie, pop it on YouTube, see if it goes viral, and yippee-ki-yay, you done yourself something. But this is not what the majority of people want. Not in the Japanese society, not in the Western society. Normal people don't like this behavior. If normal people don't like this behavior, again, why did you leave the comments off? Because the vast majority of people would roast you for this. And if the majority are going to do it, that means that is what's normal. But yo, at least I got to have a real fun time breaking this down and espousing my absolute love for The Legend of Zelda and loving seeing these individuals have their own meltdowns because they can't handle the fact that true fans are getting what they want. Again, I actually had no plans at any point to cover this mess because I didn't think it was real. The few individuals I saw that were commenting on being upsetty spaghetti that Hunter Schafer didn't get the role were either living in delusion, were likely bots, or honestly were complete and utter nobodies, so it didn't matter. But Brianna Wu, that's an individual that actually got some clout, that's got some following, and honestly probably believes the dribble that was espoused here. So as a real fan, and as somebody who, again, actually does have a dog in this fight because I have been polite and cordial and kind with Brianna and we have had, interactions, and because I do think some of the things that are being proposed are things worthy of talking about and merit, especially on the policy side, even if I disagree with them, it's worth the discussion. So yeah, there was a myriad of reasons why this video did end up needing to be made. But these are my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at Bolt the Word, and please do subscribe. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news nearly every day. Not always about the Legend of Zelda film or video games, but anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsparadise_Leon and become a member. For $4.99 a month, you can join the Discord, choose the articles I go over on a day-to-day basis, choose the videos that react to on the live streams, and of course, get involved with over 200 other vital idols. We are a bright, beautiful, glowing, vibrant community that I cannot wait to grow even further, because we do care about diversity, but only one kind of diversity of thought that's interesting to you. Join the Discord, hit subscribe, and until next time, it's all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.